The Yankees split with the Houston Astros. I have producer Casey here to discuss what ends up being an unfortunate split against the Astros, even though I said that, going in, I said that'd be a win. And I thought that this was kind of your most realistic, best outcome. But you get a little greedy when you take two of the first three. But the Yankees don't get it done in Game 4. A lot to discuss in this series. Casey, how you doing?
Good. Yeah, like you said earlier, splitting the series would have been considered a victory, but, this is why we play the games, because, game script matters. And the way that we kind of blew this series in a way is just, another example of this Yankee team falling short.
And this is where I try to preface it, because I like to give a projection for what I kind of think / what I think is realistic, and the split was kind of where it netted out, and so it could have been worse. But again, considering where you're at, you had a chance to take 3 to 4, you didn't do it, and that's disappointing. So Game 1, Clarke Schmidt continues to be consistent. Who would have thought? Clarke Schmidt, who really was very bad in April, and I think it might have stretched into a little bit into May as well. Clarke Schmidt at this point is absolutely clearly in. I mean, forget about the number. It doesn't matter where he slots in. He's kind of been your number 2 for a while now, but the point is that you don't want him going anywhere. Forget about innings limits and whatnot for now. As long as the Yankees are still in this race, Clarke Schmidt, that's now with this start, this Thursday night start, that is now 13 straight outings where he's led 3 earned runs or less. He's keeping them in every ball game, and his confidence is growing. And I wouldn't. Well, actually, no, I thought he was actually pretty good here. He only goes 5 innings, throws 82 pitches. They quickly went to the bullpen, but, Clarke is a good story here. And on the mound for the Astros is Yankee killer Christian Javier, but Javier has struggled this year, and those struggles did continue as the Yankees got going early. And it was Giancarlo Stanton, who's going to be a topic of conversation in this episode. We will discuss what happened in Game 3 with Stanton, which was just one of the most embarrassing things I've ever seen. But Stanton hits a 2-run homer in the first. Let me just get this straight out here. Aaron Judge, who, there's a couple of things. The fair thing to say is this. Don't be surprised that there's struggles with Judge coming off the injury, right? He got off to that really nice start with the Orioles. He's going to get his walks. He's going to be, but I'll be a little bit harsh on Judge. And it kind of picks up on where me and you were. Last episode you were on was actually that Astro ALCS one. Yep. The Astros really are very good versus Aaron Judge. I believe his final stats of this series was 0 for 12 with 6 strikeouts. Look,
yeah,
that's a little. I know it's crazy for me to look. Judge is amazing. He's awesome, but. It's just unfortunate that, the Astros, they are not afraid of him. Whereas, he dominates the Orioles. I just want to get, because, there's going to be some players that, I discuss sort of as I'm going along here. I just wanted to get that out the way with Judge, and unfortunately, not very good versus Houston.
Yeah, it's definitely been his kryptonite his whole career. They are not scared of him all whatsoever. So,
nope.
And, yeah, and they just pitch right to him, and he can't do anything about it,
Yeah,
so.
100%.
Yeah.
So, Giancarlo Stanton gets on the board early, 2-run homer, and for him, he did go 0 for 6 in Game 4 today, but, he has been hitting home runs. Look, I still think it's an overall frustration as far as Stanton, 4 more years in the contract, but as far as the here and now, he hits a 2-run homer in the first, and then it's back-to-back homers. Billy McKinney hits his 6th homer of the season, and he's been a nice find. All's considered, Jake Barris and McKinney, players you didn't expect anything from, but this goes back to the conversation of the Yankees. They need more left-handed guys in the lineup. With Yankee Stadium, with that short porch, Yankees are way too right-handed, and it just shows guys like Bowers and McKinney are getting stuff done. And when I look at the 2024 season, you got to find a way to somehow turn this, but it's been like this for a long, long time. And I remember people were excited. When they got Gallo and Rizzo, okay, it was much needed. Gallo ends up being a disaster. Rizzo, obviously, besides last month, has been a good Yankee, but, this lineup's way too right-handed. But not to get too far down that rabbit hole, Clarke Schmidt does get into some trouble in the second inning. I'll fast forward to the fact that he gives up a run, and then Martin Maldonado gets an RBI single. A fucking Yankee killer. And it made me think, I didn't look up the stats. He killed the Yankees in the ALCS last year from what I remember.
He did.
It wasn't, Altuve, actually, in the playoffs last year, if I remember correctly, did not do much of anything. It was fucking Martin Maldonado, who's like a 170 hitter. He killed the Yankees basically all series long. He is a defensive first backup catcher. So that was very frustrating. So he gets an RBI single, but the Yankees keep that 3-2 lead. It would stay scoreless for a while. I thought the Yankees let Javier off the hook, which is a common Yankee thing to do, where, you know, they should score more runs than they do. They don't get it done there, but Schmidt is able to kind of work through 5. Let's jump to the 6th inning. And at this point, Javier's out of the game. Yankees go to Wandy Peralta. Wandy had a rough series, and you know, but I agree with bringing him in here. He comes in to face Kyle Tucker, and Kyle Tucker promptly homers off him. His 19th homer of the year, ties the game up at 3. And Wandy is someone who is very good versus lefties. So is Kyle Tucker, but like I understand the move. Look, Schmidt's pitch count was only at 82, but I get it. But he struggles there, and then with 1 out, Yordan Alvarez singles. So he's out of the game at this point. Doesn't really get the job done. But then the Yankee bullpen does a great job from there. From King to Canely to Holmes. King gets the final 2 outs of the 6th. And then in the bottom of the 6th, a nice response inning from the Yankees. And it's a 2-out walk by Bader, who then steals second. I thought Harrison Bader had a nice series. Who he's had some struggles lately, but I thought that Bader was really solid. And then Anthony Volpe gets an RBI single, and for him, it's ups and downs. But here, it was nice to see him hit the ball the opposite field. I think overall Volpe's future is bright, even though this year has had its ups and downs. So that's a big RBI single off of Kendall Graveman, gives the Yankees a 4-3 lead. And then from there, bullpen really does a nice job. But things get interesting in the 7th. Michael King, there's a play with runner on first, 1 out, where there's a little dribbler from Altuve to King, and he throws it in the direction of second base, but no one's covering. I think that was probably Volpe who was supposed to be over there, so everyone's safe. However, he then gets Jeremy Pena to ground into double play. So it got a little bit risky there, but it's 4-3. Then in the 8th, Tommy Canely comes on, pitches a 1-2-3 8th inning. And then in the top of the 9th, Clay Holmes got a little bit interesting.
As it does at times.
As it does at times. To be fair with Clay, it wasn't like a control issue. I gotta say, Clay Holmes, Clay Holmes for a while, he's really been good.
Yeah.
And he's someone who, like, at heart, I get nervous with, but long story short, it ends up being a situation where Altuve is up first and second, 2 out. I'm thinking Altuve's definitely gonna do something here. He hits it pretty well, but to Volpe, they get the first and second, and the Yankees find a way. And I believe it was Aaron Judge basketball jersey night. The Yankees do win it 4-3. They take the first game of this 4-game set.
Yeah, and it was it was big to get that insurance run by Volpe, that 4-3 run there, because I just feel like this team has has a huge tendency, and you kind of alluded to this earlier, but scoring all those runs in the beginning of the game and then really doing nothing after that has been really the Yankee trend this whole season, and that's what makes it even more infuriating. So it was just nice that despite all that happened throughout the course of this game, really impressive win, and good on Volpe for getting that run to put us over. And yeah, kudos to the bullpen this game around, even with that whole, brain fart from King. I mean, I don't even know who really to chalk up the error to. I mean, I wish he just threw it to first, but I get the muscle memory there. Throwing it to second base, but glad that we pulled this one out. And you felt you felt very happy and encouraged going into that, thinking, hey, maybe we can really turn things around. Let's keep this momentum going into game 2. But unfortunately, not quite the case.
Yeah, it's funny how that works. In a 162 game season, and like, there's going to be more of those. Like, there's going to be more of those where they get you sucked in. I know it's going to happen again. Like, it's very easy to, and ultimately, I don't think that this Yankee team does make the playoffs is my prediction. But I know there's going to be roller coasters for the next 2 months. I just know that's how it's going to be. But yeah, you're feeling good going into game 2, right? To a point. Because then when you look on paper and see who's starting, you're like, oh yeah, the guy with the 10 ERA is coming up. So this might be bad. So Luis Severino on the mound in game 2. After he got annihilated by the Orioles. It was a 7-run first inning, ended up giving up I think maybe 9 or so, and that by the time that outing was over. And Sevy, it doesn't get a whole lot better here. He ends up going 4+ innings. He gives up 5 runs and a key 3-run homer he gives up in the first. It just takes the wind out of the Yankees' sails. I mean, these Severino games are over immediately. and to a point, and also the Rodón games. We'll get to Rodón, but Severino, like, he's got to be out of this rotation. But like we said before, I don't know now with the Herman thing, with Rodón kind of being up in the air now, with the hamstring tightness and just, the bullshit that he's providing. But Severino, his confidence is shot, and his ERA is now 7.74. Like, it's crazy because, look, we can nitpick, and I've talked about this, we can nitpick Severino in terms of, like, times when he's come up short. But overall, Luis Severino, when healthy, which, of course, is a big if, was a very good pitcher.
Yeah.
And so to see this is rather shocking going into his free agent season. Like, this is it for Severino as a Yankee. And I think going into the season, I think certainly there was a chance that Severino, like, with a good season and whatnot, like, that Severino could have continued. I mean, Severino is the longest tenured Yankee when it comes to MLB service time. That's how long he's been here, since 2015. But I mean, that time is coming to an end. There's just no doubt about it.
Yeah, it's unfortunate to see, and we really needed him here. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what it is. I mean, he kind of just looks completely washed. I mean, it's no other way to put it. He just looks like he doesn't have it anymore. And he's even said so in the post game. He even said that he's, I'm going to paraphrase here, but, essentially agreeing that he's playing like, shit, and he doesn't really understand what's happening either. So hopefully the pitching staff does, then they can help turn this around a little bit, because like you said, we kind of need him if we're going to make any kind of push to the postseason. Which is so sad. And I'm going to throw this name out there, and I'm going to immediately regret saying it. It has you wondering when fucking Frankie Montas is coming back, which, again, like, A, he might not come back. B, he was horrible last year when but it's so sad that things got to the point where it's like, I'm kind of wondering myself, is he going to be back maybe in September? Yeah, we need the fucking bat signal for Frankie Montas. Another disappointing Cashman signing. Another terrible Cashman pitching acquisition. Exactly. So in a long line of them. Yeah. So Severino first inning, how about Altuve? How about, like, not throwing him a fucking strike on the first pitch? He ropes a double to start the inning out, but he almost gets out of it. But unfortunately, Yainer Diaz hits an opposite field 3-run homer, makes it 3-0. So coming off that nice win the night before, the wind is just taken out of their sails instantly. And so it's 3-0 Astros right off the bat. In the first, I will say, Jake Meyers, who ends up making a big impact for the Astros this series, makes a great catch on Billy McKinney, what would have probably been a 2-run extra base hit. McKinney is robbed by Meyers in left center field. Then in the second inning, Severino with a couple of walks, then a single, and then you get a bases loaded hit by pitch to Alex Bregman, makes it 4-0. It could have gotten worse, but he does get out of it after that. Then in the bottom of the third, down the left field line, Jake Bauers hits one off the pole. And for Bauers, he has a bigger role than he should have, but if he had a normal role, Bauers has actually been, a really good power source and someone that's been pretty effective and a nice find by Cashman. So his homer cuts it to 4-1. Then in the fifth, a leadoff homer for Yordan Alvarez, and the night is over for Luis Severino, boot off the mound, we've just had enough of Severino, and in a perfect world, that really would have been his last start, but I don't think that's going to happen. So Albert Abreu comes on, finishes out the fifth inning. In the bottom of the fifth, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa hits his sixth homer of the year, and for IKF, it's been a nice season for him. I think Yankee fans are pretty pleased with what he's provided this year. Again, are the numbers eye-popping? No, but, I think that he's done a nice job and, has such a good attitude. It's hard to not like Kiner-Falefa. Always says the right things and really enjoys being a Yankee. So that makes it 5-2. Okay, and then this is like my last big issue. Nick Ramirez, who was sent down after the game, the left-hand Ramirez specialist. Comes on. I don't know why they view him as a lefty specialist. His numbers versus lefties are absolutely horrific. It doesn't make any sense. And so they specifically bring him in to face Alvarez and Tucker. What does he do? Walks Alvarez, and then with the bases loaded, Tucker gets a 2-run double. I mean, I don't get it. They're so fucking stubborn, this fucking coaching staff and front office. So that makes it 7-2. And again, any traction that might have happened there is kind of stunted. Ramirez then pitches through the seventh. Let's jump to the bottom of the seventh. And Hunter Brown, by the way, was the starter for the Astros. He went 6 innings, gave up 2 runs. Hector Neris comes on, who owns Aaron Judge, which I understand why Boone
had Judge pinch hit for Higashioka here, but Judge strikes out in a spot where it was first and second and 1 out. So that ends that threat. In the bottom of the 8th, Giancarlo Stanton homers off of Rafael Montero, makes it 7-3. In the 9th, Keenan Middleton comes on, and Keenan Middleton, who we're going to talk about more in Game 4, does a nice job, goes 1, 2, 3, and in his initial Yankee, and we kind of make fun of it because, like, it was the one real move that we made at the deadline was picking up Keenan Middleton, who's, a middle relief guy, actually has looked good. For what it's worth, pitched a 1-2-3 ninth inning, and then in the bottom of the 9th, Ryan Presley comes on. Yankees threaten a little bit, but ultimately it ends in an Isaiah Kiner-Falefa ground out. Yankees lose Game 2, 7-3.
Yeah, like you said, just, from the get-go, the 3-run homer just absolutely killed us. Another questionable thing about this game, and I think Twitter was kind of ablaze at the time, but Boone once again sitting Judge in this game and not having him in the starting lineup. I know he pinched hit, but another, it's just one of these things where I understand that Aaron Judge is coming off of an injury and he is our prized thing, but, you question where the upper management's heads at when, we have this series that is so, important in terms of the historical context with our rivalry that's been here for the last 5 or 6 years, and where we are in terms of this wild card hunt that, you would think that Judge would be playing every single one of these games without question because of just how important they are in so many ways. It was just one of those moves that surprised me. I know it kind of just got swept under the rug because of what Severino did, but just curious what you thought about, this trend of sitting Judge, already this is the second time, I think, since he's been back.
Yeah, it's kind of a genius idea. Have Judge sit when Severino pitches, and you basically, no one will say a word. So, I mean, if you're going to sit him, definitely do it when Sevy starts because you'd be wasting him.
Yeah.
I think I was more frustrated with the Orioles sit than this one. Look, in a perfect, here's what I would say. Because what happened was he played right field in the third game. So if you took a strict DH approach with Judge, which I can understand why you would maybe do that. If that were the case, then I think there'd be no excuse, just playing basically every game if you're going to DH him. But they are trying to work him into the field. Would I have been more upset if this was a close game? And it's I probably would have been, right?
Yeah.
It's Judge isn't in there. And you know what it is with Judge? Even though we have struggled versus the Astros, it's just it's the feeling. I think this, honestly, since he's been back, just the at-bats have been just generally, the offense, as bad as it's been, the at-bats seem to be more competitive. I think just getting him in there, it's the aura of it. I'm with you. It's frustrating, especially coming off a win again. You want to build off it. I think that's what sucks too. It's damn, you just won, keep him in there until maybe you lose a game. So yeah, the handling of Judge, I think just the overall lack of it feels like lack of urgency. And I understand the Judge is coming up with a serious injury. What he's doing on its own, is a bit heroic. So I'm not trying to discount that. But yeah, I mean, look, I think it's frustrating. I wasn't surprised by it, I guess is what I'd say. But it's just because I'm kind of used to the Yankees kind of handling things this way too.
Right. Yeah, no, that makes sense. And and I get it that he's coming off the injury. It just, I think it would have been nice for him to just be playing all 4 games. But again, it all is kind of a moot point because of Sevy being Sevy. But
exactly.
But luckily, the Yankees bounced back in a big way for Game 3.
So Game 3, let's talk about some positive things in Game 3. So Nestor Cortes, that is something to be very happy about. I mean, he was struggling before he went down. So I don't want to jump the gun here, but if Nestor is going to pitch like he did, and it was only 4 innings, but 8 strikeouts, only 1 hit. Of course, a fucking home run to Altuve, unfortunately. But if Nestor being good, then okay, now you have 3 starters. You have Cole, Schmidt, and Cortes. And my hope was that one of Rodón or Severino, I'm not sure if I brought this up in a recent episode, it might have just been a thought to myself, but if you can get 2 of those 3, including Nestor, 2 of those 3 straightened out, okay.
Yeah.
You have 4, and then maybe you figure the 5th one becomes a Randy Vasquez situation, or you get creative on the 5th.
Right.
But, but Nestor, that, it was very encouraging. It was dominant. I mean, 4 innings, 1 hit. that homer, 1 walk, and 8 Ks against a tough Astro lineup. Very good to see, and the bullpen was just brilliant. Ian Hamilton, who has really done a very nice job. Kind of like as a depth piece in this bullpen as guys are coming back, and we'll talk about one guy that's coming back in Jonathan Loaizaga actually on for the White Sox series. I mean, this bullpen gets deeper. I mean, the bullpen is definitely the strength of this team. And so you end up getting 5 scoreless innings between Hamilton, Canely, King, and Holmes. Let's run through this one quickly. There's not a whole lot to discuss. We're going to Game 4 is going to be a lot of discussion, I'm afraid. But bottom 2, Yankees get a little bit of a rally going. Connor Falefa single, Bader double. And then you get a sac fly by Volpe to make it 1-0. Then, unfortunately, bad at-bat by Ben Rortvedt as he strikes out. So the Yankees only have a 1-0 lead. Then in the third, Altuve homers, which was frustrating off of Nestor as he was cruising, and Justin Verlander really struggled through too. I mean, the fact that Verlander ended up, he always finds a way. Like, I don't come away always impressed by Verlander, but yet versus the Yankees, the final line is always good. And here, he ends up going 7 innings of 2-run ball, which would have been more of a discussion point if not for the good Yankee pitching. So the Yankees do, in the third, okay, this is we're going to talk about this. Stanton gets a double, which is a miracle in and of itself that he got a double. He was able to get over there because he put it in the left field corner and, he walked over to second. Then DJ LeMahieu hits what should have been an RBI single, but Stanton literally, I don't even know what he was thinking, and we never heard from him. They didn't make him available to the media, but he just walks home and gets thrown out. I mean, that is concerning.
Yeah.
Giancarlo Stanton is, let's see, how old is Giancarlo Stanton? He's like probably around he's maybe a little older than us.
Yeah, I'd say.
Giancarlo Stanton is 33.
33, okay.
He's 33. I mean, what the fuck? He's like he's like a broken down man. Like if he pushes it at all, he knows that he's going to like fucking tear that his soft tissue injuries are going to get the best of him. Like that is 4 more years of Giancarlo Stanton. I mean, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's it's this whole Stanton thing has really just been overall kind of disappointing, just because of he's so brittle. This guy, I mean, he is a brick shithouse, and yet he pulls a pec here or whatever. It's unbelievable, and like you said, he's 33 years old, and to just be almost like lack of awareness too. Just I don't know. It's. And, and I hate to do it, but, I have to point the finger kind of at the coaching and just allowing this. I don't know. It was so bizarre, Derek. Yeah, that's all I could say, really. It was at a loss for words.
Yeah. And, I think as a person, I think Stanton, he gets booed all the time.
Yeah.
And really handles it well. So I really do like the guy. I like, it's not one of the situations, because there's certain people that's just fuck that, you just hate their attitude. I really want him to succeed. I really, and look, he's had his moments in the playoffs before. It's not as if he can't kind of, I don't think he's just totally shot as a hitter. I think the injuries play a big role here. I mean, unfortunately, his batting average at the end of the series is at about 206 or 207, which is completely unacceptable. But it's not as if he's completely done. But overall, he just plugs up that DH spot. He's going to go on the IL at least once or twice in a season. So
yeah,
look, you look back on it, and I know, I mean, we spoke about it a lot at the time, but it wasn't the right thing to do in hindsight. Even though you didn't give up anything of consequence, taking on that, it's in baseball, it's okay to get, in terms of the money side of it, that's fine if it's short term, but he had, when we picked him up from the Marlins, he probably had around 10 years or so left on the contract. I think that checks out, somewhere around that.
Yeah. And
so now there's still 4 more years after this year. It's it's not going to get any better in terms of the injuries and stuff. It's just, it's a conversation, it's more of a post-mortem conversation, but that was embarrassing and concerning. I've never seen it that bad where he just literally, I mean, and I can't, people are killing Luis Rojas, and I don't think he's a great third base coach, but
yeah,
how are you not? Anyone fucking scores there. Whatever. We'll move past it.
No, it's bizarre, but just one last thing, just about, and him plugging up the DH spot. I mean, my God, when he plays right field, Like I'm like nervous every time watching
It's
him
bad.
try and field. I mean, it's got to be
bad.
literally a
It's
pop up right to him for him to have any kind of confidence.
Yeah,
in
it's
trying
gotten
to
worse and worse.
So, I mean, like you said, and alluding to the same stuff, it's like, you almost feel like he can't, turn on the jets, so to speak, to go after a ball in the outfield because you're worried that he's going to, pull something or whatever. And then it's just, it's just another one of these experiments that have really just gone sideways.
Yeah, completely, and it prevented you from maybe like getting a Bryce Harper, who I know he's hurt now, but like it just
still though,
it landlocked them. And that's what hurts the most.
Yeah, and I mean, I know he's had his moments in the postseason for us where he's come up with some big hits here, but if you're really going over the whole span of this tenure here with the Yankees, it's been very, very up and down, and mostly down.
Yeah, I'd say more bad than good.
Yeah.
I'd say more bad than good, and it'd be one thing if it's like, like for example, like Donaldson. No, he's he's done. Like he's a free agent of the year. You have 4 more years and 3 more of LeMahieu. It's like that concerns me quite a bit.
Yeah.
And I don't know how they get out of that. But it's not great. So the game remains tied at 1. Ian Hamilton comes in the 5th. Does a nice job in the 5th. Bottom of the 5th. Jake Bauers homers off of Justin Verlander. So Bauers hits it into the second deck and right, gives the Yanks a 2-1 lead. And then Hamilton in the top of the 6th does a nice job there too. So Ian Hamilton, 4 strikeouts, really, again, bit of an unsung guy. He was out for about a month with an injury, but really a nice story too for Hamilton. Going to the 7th inning, Tommy Kahnle comes on. And we see him a lot in the 8th, but the way it worked out, they like Kahnle more versus the lefty lane, and, he was facing Alvarez this inning, and Kahnle does the job. After a leadoff walk to Bregman, he's able to make it through. Then in the 8th inning, Michael King comes on, and, there was one little bloop single in the mix there, but he strikes out Maldonado and Altuve, so nice job by Michael King in the 8th, where we haven't really seen him pitch recently. King's kind of pitched more, I feel like, in the 6th and 7th. But then the Yankees get a big insurance run. Gleyber Torres, who I'll save discussion on Gleyber till the 4th game. A positive talk on Gleyber. But Gleyber, big insurance run to get off of Kendall Graveman after Verlander was out. It's his 17th homer of the year. Gives Yankees a 3-1 lead, which is nice to give Clay Holmes that extra little cushion. And he goes 1-2-3 in the 9th. Strikes out Pena. Tucker flies out, Bregman grinds out, and the Yankees ensure themselves of not losing the series and put themselves in position to maybe win the series going to Game 4.
Exactly, and this is where, the conversation from last episode comes into play where, you were saying that you would have been thrilled with splitting the series, but again, this is why we play the games, because having gotten, being up 2-1 now, looking into this game, you feel like there's a good shot here of, I mean, look, it's, you never know, but, you feel like we had a chance here to really win this series. And, we knew that Rodón was pitching and he's been dicey, but, you were hoping that he channeled, some of the magic that he had when we played the Mets. But clearly that was an anomaly because, once again, same kind of issues as Severino. Game is over before it started, basically.
Yeah. And I said the 2 out of splitting is a win, and the reason why that ends up not really working here is for 2 reasons. Again, the scoreboard, which I want to just give a further update. The Seattle Mariners go into Anaheim and take all 4 games. So the Mariners are now 2 games out of the Yankees, just for what it's worth.
Yeah.
So you got that part of it too, where the scoreboard didn't work out. And within the series, I looked at Game 1. Okay, Schmidt versus Javier, not terrible for the Yankees, like a decent matchup, and they win it. Then look at the next 2. I didn't love the next 2 matchups. Severino, and then Cortes Verlander, just because of the fact that Cortes was coming back and Verlander is Verlander. Like, I thought, okay, like, try to split. They do get the split. And then you get Rodón versus Urquidy. That, to me, was up there with Game 1. Like, if I look at the series and I'm thinking about it honestly, I'm thinking, okay, Games 1 and 4, Yankees can win those. 2 and 3, I'm concerned about.
Right.
So it's like, okay, you took advantage of winning Game 3. Now find a way in Game 4. And Carlos Rodón simply would not let that fucking happen. The walks are just so annoying with Rodón. It only ends up being, it's 2 and 2 2/3 innings. His ERA right now sits at 7.33. Let's just jump right into it. And the Astros walked 12 Yankee hitters. 12 Yankee walks plus a hit by pitch. I think I saw a stat that in the last 50, this is the Yankees' second loss. I think this is what it was. in the last like maybe 50 some odd years when they have been walked at least 12 times. The other loss was to the Houston Astros in 2021. And that game, if you remember, was a devastating loss on a Sunday at Houston where I believe Chad Green gave up a back-breaking walk-off homer to Altuve. The Yankees blew a big lead. And the Yankees had millions of chances to just break it open, and they couldn't quite do it. And it was a devastating loss. I think there was like a missed catch on a Chas McCormick fly ball by Aaron Judge actually dropped it. Anyway, I'm getting too deep into that. But again, ironically against the Astros as well. So the Astros gave the Yankees every chance in this game. The Yankees left on a million base runners. So even though the Yankees scored 7 runs, right? And like for the Yankees, that's a good number. 7. Even still, it was a frustration. It was just like the Yankees just could not get that big knockout blow. And look, as much as I hate the home run or nothing ball, that's kind of how the Astros won this game. They get 4 home runs. The Yankees get none. Not none. Yankees got 1. And that's where we'll transition here. Gleyber Torres homers in the first inning. Gleyber Torres, his 18th homer of the year, had a really nice day. He went, was it 3 for 4? Right, 3 for 4 with 2 walks. He reached base 5 times. Like, Gleyber has really been, as much as the brain farts kill me, offensively, he's been the most consistent here in the Yankee lineup all season. And he's on pace for probably at least about 25 homers. He's batting .270, which in this day and age of baseball is pretty good. I think he could even do more than that. But, like, Gleyber has been good offensively, I got to say.
Absolutely, yeah, and I mean he's really turned it on the second half of the season. It really it's really shown, and it's great to see. I mean, because the brain farts are a thing that we're probably just going to have to deal with him going forward. But the fact that there was a lack of offense in the first half of the season just made all those errors even worse, and it was just compounding. So anyway, it seems like he's kind of turned a corner this second half of the season. So I mean, great, because we need anything we could get at this point.
Yeah, definitely. And I also think my brain also goes to, well, at the offseason, he's only got 1 year left on his contract. All right, Cashman, like, let's not, like,
right.
Let's not squeeze it. Like, let's, like, maybe trade him while the value's high. Like, my brain does go there, too.
Hey, yeah.
Considering the fact that you do have Peraza, I know he's far from a sure thing, but, like, you do kind of have Peraza coming up. You hope that Volpe is good. So, look, love what Gleyber's doing, and of course, if he's back next year, which is probably going to be the case, like, fine. But think about, again, consider the trade value.
Yeah.
But we'll see what happens there. But anyway, Gleyber homers, and then the second inning where you need a shutout inning, Rodón does not provide that. He walks Tucker. He then walks Jeremy Pena, and I know there was a questionable check swing, and with Angel Hernandez behind the plate, it's always going to be a mess. I would say he was bad again today, but on both sides. I think that the Yankees benefited from some bad stuff from Angel Hernandez, but yeah. Jake Meyers hits the first of 2 3-run homers in this game. Jake Meyers, who came into the game with 7 homers and 25 RBIs, leaves the game with 2 homers and 6 ribbies. A 3-run homer for Jake Meyers makes it 3-1. And then things get worse. In the third inning, Yordan Alvarez, he hits a 2-run homer, and that makes it 5-1. And then in that inning, Rodón leaves with left hamstring tightness, and he seemed optimistic at the end of the game, but simply put, the performance was unacceptable. He was booed off the mound as he should have been, and Carlos Rodón, it's like, that's just where my head's at right now. Like, it's year 1 has been a failure. It's a 6-year contract. I mean, Brian Cashman signed him to a major deal, and I'll be the first to admit it. I was excited about it. You can go back to the episode that I recorded on Rodón. I was excited. His numbers were spectacular last 2 seasons, but look, I'm not the GM. Cashman is. And boy, has this been just beyond frustrating between injuries and effectiveness. Really not happy with Carlos Rodón, and I don't know how anyone could be.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those classic cases. I mean, you hate to say it, but the whole, really can't handle New York thing. It just seems like it's another example of that. I mean, going back to that, him blowing the kiss into the stands of the hecklers, and there is a certain sense that you need to have a thick skin when you come to the Bronx. And it doesn't seem like he can handle that pressure right now. And I mean, not to mention, he did have a history of injuries prior to, all the stuff that happened with the Giants. And so there was always that, lingering. So yeah, I mean, it's one of these things that you look back on it now and you're like, why why did we go for it with this guy, knowing what we know now, in hindsight, it's always 2020, but yeah, just incredibly frustrating. Just an other Frankie Montes-esque situation here. And you hate to be like, and just last thing, just that, this whole thing with the hamstring tightness, you don't even know anymore with this Yankee medical staff. I mean, with all the stuff that happened with Rizzo and, it's like, you don't know what to believe anymore. I mean, is it just that his pride was hurt and you're just taking him out of the game and this is just your excuse for that? And that's why maybe he was kind of like optimistic about everything, because he really knew deep down that it wasn't really for the reasons that the Yankee staff were saying it was for. I don't know. It's just the whole, this year has been, we had talked about this off camera, but this has been one of the most bizarre and just like infuriating years as a Yankee fan that we've been alive for. It's really, the dysfunction has just gotten to a point where, we feel like our Queen's neighbor at times with some of the shit that's been going down.
Oh my God. Yeah. But see, that's the one thing. At least we're not them.
But, yeah, no, but that's true. But
it's still not good here. But like, I mean, it could be worse.
It definitely could be worse. And the thing is too, just to get back into Game 4 here, when Rodón leaves the game and it's 5-1 at this point, right? Most Yankee games this year, when it's 5-1, the game's over, right? But somehow we find a way to tie up this ball game and make it 5-5. So once you saw that happen and you're like, oh my God, like we might actually, despite this horrific Rodón performance yet again, we might actually pull this one out.
Yeah. And that's what really sucks here is that like, it's like, this could have been a really uplifting, all right, and now let's roll, like, okay, right. You come back, you win despite some bad shit going on. You win. All right, now let's you go to Chicago, you go to Miami. Like, all right, let's start to get rolling here. Because I think back to 2021, and it was different because post when they got Rizzo and Gallo, like that was 2021 was a very frustrating season, but that they had that really awesome like great August stretch that probably went into September a little bit, and then they kind of stumbled a little bit towards the end, lost to the Red Sox, but like. Maybe like this could have been, now again, you don't really have that post-trade deadline excitement like you kind of had there at the time, but you're thinking like, all right, maybe there's a world, this is a streaky Yankee club that we've seen the last couple of years, for better or worse, like maybe, and again, they're kind of just treading water, but getting back into this game, they do get back into it, which is a trait we haven't really seen from this Yankee team this year, but they do get close. The fourth inning is where it happens. Gleyber leadoff single, then a LeMahieu walk with one out, a kind of Falefa walk. Then Harrison Bader RBI single. And Bader, again, one of those guys that would run as a scoring position. He can come through. He does. Then they take Urquidy out. So Jose Urquidy ends up only going 3 1/3. Yeah, 3 1/3. Phil Maton comes in and he struggles. He hits Anthony Volpe, which would have been a walk. I think it was a full count anyway. I think it would have been a walk. But and then Higashioka strikes out. Bad at bat by Kyle Higashioka. Swings at a bad pitch. But the Yankees continue to move it forward. Jake Bauers walks, so another bases loaded walk. Although, no, I guess technically that was the first base loaded walk. Then Judge walks, so another base loaded walk, ties up at 5. And then J.P. France comes on to face Gleyber Torres. And as much as I was happy they tied it up, it's like Gleyber, big at bat. And he does a nice job, actually. It ends up being a full count. In fact, it was 3-1 at one point. The Yankees couldn't quite take the lead. Gleyber hits the ball to right center, hits it deep, not quite deep enough, and so the score stays 5-5. Johnny Brito had come on, and he starts to struggle in the 5th. And when he leaves the game, it's first and second, one out, and they bring Wandy Peralta on to face a couple of lefties, which makes sense, and he does the job. He strikes out Alvarez, and then Tucker hits it deep to right, but it's short, and so it's 5-5. Now we're going to talk about a lot of Yankee just not being able to get the runs home when they needed to. LeMahieu with a one-out double, then Connor Falefa walks, then Bader grounds into a force out, and then Volpe strikes that swing. This was a rough game for Anthony Volpe. He strikes out in a big spot, and it stays 5-5. Now the 6th is where I think this is our line of questioning to Boone. Although I kind of understand why he did what he did, but Wandy, I thought maybe Keenan Middleton was going to come in here. Now I understand that Hamilton wasn't available. It turned out that King wasn't available, and they're really still babying Michael King because King's workload really wasn't as heavy as Holmes and Canley's were. However, Holmes was available, and apparently Canley would have been available if it were an extra inning situation, which is kind of like don't be half pregnant. Like, either like have Kaylee, like, what's the fucking point of that? Like, either have him actually be available. It's just classic Yankee stuff. So Boone felt like, okay, I'm only in the 6th inning, and it speaks to the fact that, again, Rodón only gives you 2 2/3 innings, so it just compromises the fucking bullpen. So Boone felt like he wanted to push Wandy through. Okay, fine. So you start him in the 6th. Chas McCormick, 0-2 count, turns into a fucking walk. Then it's a balk on Peralta. Then he strikes out Abreu, and then Jeremy Pena singles. Okay, so now it's 1st and 3rd, 1 out. At this point, you got to be done with Wandy at this point. Like, Middleton should have come in. And I understand, like, you know, Middleton was kind of an unknown, like, at this point. Like, Yankee fans only knew, like, one good outing he had the other night in kind of a mop-up situation. But Wandy stays in the game with a lineup full of righties and a Yankee bullpen full of righties, and Jake Myers does it again. A 3-run homer for Myers, makes it 8-5, and then for good measure, Marty Maldonado fucking homers, back-to-back homers, makes it 9-5 Astros, and that, you know, that was too much to overcome. And so Wandy Peralta should, in my opinion, should not have been in there. And I know it was because the bullpen was thin and this and that, but attack the fucking game now. Don't worry about what is thin. Like, oh, how am I going to get through it? Deal with the situation now. Like, I just, you know, a terrible job by Boone here.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's just like the sense of urgency. It's just like these games are huge, and to not, you know, make the right decision because you're worried about thinning out the bullpen for like future, you know, the future series coming up.
And you have Cole, and another thing, right? You have Cole tomorrow versus a fucking bad White Sox offense.
Exactly. Like, so in theory, he should go as far as he possibly can, and then you don't have to worry about this shit.
Right.
But yeah,
I know Wandy Peralta is Wandy. Like, I know, like, Wandy, like, you think about, like, just names. Wandy Peralta, Keenan Middleton.
Right,
like,
right.
From a Yankee fan's perspective, like, okay, Wandy's above him. But
yeah.
But no, but, like, Wandy has become really more of a lefty specialist. Can he get righties out? Yeah, he can.
He can, but
it's not as if Wandy's a stiff, but that's the thing. Yeah. Fine, start him in the inning, but he was struggling.
Exactly.
And it wasn't looking good.
Right. He's been a little susceptible lately in terms of getting into some trouble. You know, he hasn't been quite the vintage Wandy that we know. So
I would agree with that.
You know, why not throw in this new guy that we just got? You know, and that's the thing. It's like at the trade deadline, all we do is bolster up. You know, we only focus on our strength. We just further strengthen our strength in this team. And it's like, why not actually utilize it then? Especially in this situation where it's like, you know, we finally get the game tied up. Let's, you know, utilize this bull. Anyway, it's just another one of these head scratching things. And like you said, you know, we were able to score a couple more runs at the later half of the game, but it just wasn't enough. You know, it's hard to come back. It's hard to, you know, score 4 runs to get it back up to 5-5 and then go down another 4 runs again.
Exactly.
And have to, you know, surmount that.
That's a gut punch.
Exactly.
That's a gut punch. And I'll give the Yankee offense credit.
Yeah.
Just to get through it.
Yeah.
You know, I'll give them credit. They, you know, they didn't die. They stuck with it a bit. You get a lucky error. Jeremy Pena allows Bowers to reach. Then Judge walks. At this point, J.P. France is in the game, and then Gleyber Torres RBI double makes it 9-6. And then you have 2 key at bats for Giancarlo Stanton and DJ LeMahieu, and both counts were full counts eventually. Stanton flies out, no advance. That's a killer. Yeah. And LeMahieu strikes out, and for LeMahieu, just too many, and I think it was another check swing. Just too many strikeouts for LeMahieu these days. It's one thing that he's struggling, but it's like this was a guy that never used to strike out, and that's a thing in his game now. So the game stays 9-6. Keenan Middleton comes on, and of course does an amazing job. He goes 1, 2, 3 in the 7th and 8th just to add to the pain of it all. It's like fuck, like why couldn't he have been in there in the fucking 6th inning? But in the 7th, Yankees rally a little bit again, as they did basically every inning. You get a 1-out single for Bader, a 2-out walk for Higashioka, and then Bowers strikes out. And for as good as Bowers has been, he strikes out quite often. He strikes out a lot, and so, you know, the game remains 9-6. Like I said, Middleton pitches a 1, 2, 3, 8th. Hector Neris comes on at the bottom of the 8th, strikes out Judge. Neris owns Judge. I think Judge in his career versus Neris is like 0 for 7 with 6 strikeouts or 0 for 8 with 7 strikeouts. It's really ugly.
Wow. Yeah.
And then Gleyber walks, Stanton flies out, DJ does get a single, so it's 1st and 3rd, kind of fluff of walks. So they bring on Brian Abreu, and I guess Ryan Presley wasn't available for the Astros, not sure why, but Abreu comes on, and the plan for him was a 4-out save, which is what would happen. Harrison Bader gets an RBI single, So he continues his good game. 9-7. Then Anthony Volpe jumps on the first pitch and flies out. Again, Volpe really was up in some big situations with 2 out a couple of times and does not come through here. So what starts out, we talked about game 1 as a good series. It ends up not so good for Anthony. And so the game remains 9-7. Albert Abreu comes out in the 9th, goes 1-2-3. And so it was Rodón and Wandy that really fucked up today. And then in the 9th inning, Billy McKinney would lead off walks. So you're thinking, okay, top of the order coming up. Maybe something happens here. Jake Bauer strikes out again. Aaron Judge strikes out. And again, those Astros, whatever. Yeah. We talked about that at the top. Gleyber walks on a pitch, on I believe what ended up being a pitch violation. And then Giancarlo Stanton, and I'll say it's crazy. Giancarlo Stanton went 0 for 6 with no strikeouts. That's one of the weirdest stats. Like Giancarlo Stanton, okay, if I told you, okay, you went 0 for 6.
Right.
Okay, so you must have had a few strikeouts.
At least
none,
half.
Actually.
Right, yeah.
None, actually.
Yeah.
And he eventually flies out to deep. He was a decent at bat for what it was worth, but he falls short. And that would have been huge to somehow maybe get like a walk-off through at home or something. It's just the way the Yankee season goes. So
exactly.
We'll put a bow on this one, for the Astros series. Yankee split it.
Yeah, and I'm not usually on these shows all that often, so I think, you and I should kind of look ahead a little bit here.
Yeah.
Yes, we are playing the White Sox coming up, but, it's on the road. We're about to go on the road for a little bit here. I think it's White Sox, Marlins, and then the Braves, which are the best team in baseball, and the Marlins aren't that bad either. I'm not going to sleep on them at all.
Struggled lately, but but overall, they're at above 5. Their record is probably right around ours.
It is, I think, about right. So, things aren't really going to get much easier for us. So I guess I'm just curious, just looking ahead, I don't know, this whole trade deadline thing, because I didn't really get to talk to you about everything that's happened. I guess Cashman and Hal are basically just telling the people that are there, look, man, we ain't bailing you out of shit. So you're going to have to figure out how to do this now. It's hard to think anything positive about this currently constructed team as it pertains to actually making some kind of run in the postseason. Look, I know anything's possible just trying to get in and then, anything can happen. But man, it's not football, the game of baseball, it's series, best of 5 in the first round and then best of 7 later on. But still, usually the best team is going to win in those kind of situations. And there's just, we're trying to figure out what our starting rotation is going to be for the postseason, and we're hoping on all these things kind of panning out, but I don't know. It just seems very bleak in Yankee world. I know we're coming off of a pretty gut-wrenching loss once again today, so just things seem extra bleak, but man, I don't know about you. It just this season is I don't know. It's going to be. It seems like it's going to be a rough one, man, for going forward. It just doesn't seem like the schedule lets up at all for us. And all these games matter now, man.
Yeah, I'm with you. So I think this is going to be one of the more frustrating seasons that we've witnessed. We've been lucky as Yankee fans in terms of regular seasons with mostly playoff appearances. And let's think about, since we've been fans, the 4 times that we have not made the playoffs. 2008 was the last, in terms of you can kind of at least hold on to something.
Yeah.
2008, and again, the Yankees have been above 500, and that's in question. Again, as far as whether that streak continues, which is a crazy streak, but that's, we'll say that for another time.
Yeah.
2008, they didn't make the playoffs, but that was the last season of the old Yankee Stadium, so you kind of had that juice going on, and maybe I'm thinking of it more kind of fun. It was frustrating. It was Girardi's first season, but you had that, right?
Yeah.
2013, when you missed the playoffs, Rivera and Pettit's last year. 2014, Jeter's last year. And 2016, the introduction of the Baby Bombers and Gary Sanchez going crazy. Judge came up, wasn't all that great, but the point is, you kind of in all the seasons had something to cling on to, something historic or something unique.
Yeah.
This year, you don't really have that. There's
None
nothing really to truly get excited about. So you're just praying that somehow they go on a run here, and I just don't think that's going to happen.
No.
Do I think the Yankees are kind of? I do think the Yankees, they'll hang around. I think that they'll stay somewhat on the periphery of it. I don't think they're going to fall off the face of the earth.
Yeah.
But you got to get on a stretch here, and I just don't know if that's going to happen. I thought the trade deadline was handled was handled very poorly. I think either you gotta buy or sell. I would have preferred to sell, me personally, but if you're not going to do that, then try to improve the team a bit. Keeping it this way is not good. Last thing I'll say on just the post deadline stuff would be one thing if looking at this team, like I think the offense for me is the biggest concern. It's been my biggest concern for years in terms of in the playoffs, but at least at the starting pitching, all right, you got like 5 guys like that day in day out you can count on. You don't though.
No.
At best, right now you have 3, and that's assuming that Nestor is good to go, and that's also assuming that Clark Schmidt there's no innings limitations. I'll say you might have 3.
Yeah.
So the starting rotation is as good as and deep as the bullpen is, and where it can save you at times. Eventually, it's not a recipe for success. So I think there's too many holes. And just the judge situation, as nice as it is that he's back, it still doesn't feel like it normally feels with Judge, at any moment, is that toe gonna fucking just completely fail on him, and we're gonna have to shut him down. So
they might just shut him down just to shut him down because there's just no more hope anymore at this point.
Right? Exactly. Right. Come September, what is the situation gonna be? So looking at it, like you said, White Sox coming up, then you got an NL West, Southeast trip with the Marlins and the Braves. And man, that Braves series, not looking forward to that one.
Yeah.
Going to be very scary. Yeah. So now you're taking a White Sox team who you lost to, which is when things were starting to become bad. I guess this was around the time. This was right after Judge got hurt. You lost 2 out of 3 home to the White Sox. Now you're facing a White Sox team, which is coming off of a wild situation with fucking Tim Anderson getting into a fight with Jose Ramirez. They are not
the fuck out.
Not the fuck out, which, I'm sure a lot of people did not mind seeing that. I mean, Tim Anderson's one of the most annoying players in fucking baseball, but here nor there, I'm sure he'll fucking do something. I'm sure if he's
he'll bounce back.
If he wasn't concussed or suspended, I'm sure he'll fucking do something versus us in the series.
He'll still do something.
But hey, you got Garrett Cole on the mound, which is always exciting. He's 10-2 with a 2.64 ERA, the front runner for the AL Cy Young. So he'll be taking on Dylan Cease in Game 1. Dylan Cease is someone who's had success in this league, but he's coming off of a really bad outing. Either way, it's a matchup that you hope to win.
Yeah.
Game 2, you got Clark Schmidt taking on Touki Toussaint. That's advantage Yankees there. And then Game 3, complete mystery. It's TBD for the Yankees. Will it be Severino? Possibly. Will it be something else? We'll see. Versus Mike Clevenger. So certainly Game 3 it could be a bit concerning, but either way, normally I'd say, take 2 out of 3. And I'll still say that, but the Yankees are in a position where it's you gotta and I don't think they're gonna do this, but you kind of have to fucking sweep a bad White Sox team.
Yeah, I mean, can we get a fucking sweep?
I don't think you will, though.
No.
But again, my I guess I'll say my prediction, and just being realistic about it, is the Yankees. I guess I'll say Yankees take 2 out of 3. But also the Yankees have not been good on the road. Whatever,
Yeah.
I'm still sticking. I'm still sticking with this. With the process of it, and going through each series, and look, as of now, we're still in it. But if I'm a betting man, I just don't think it ends up really working out for the Yanks. We'll shut it down here. And hopefully, obviously things are fluid, but hopefully we'll have you back on for that second Astros series, which will take place in early September.
We'll see where we're at that point.
We'll see. We'll see where we're at that point, which could be out.
We should definitely have a better picture then.
Exactly. We'll see where we're at that point, which, like you said, might be a more bleak place than now.
Yeah.
And and the Yankees never play well at the Astros. I mean, they're okay at Yankee Stadium at best. But the Yankees have not won versus the Astros at Minute Maid Park. I think that's what it's still called.
Yeah.
They didn't win. They went in the playoffs. If you combine the playoffs and the regular season, they went 0-5 on the road versus the Astros last year. And it's been a house of horrors, obviously, over the years. I'm sure that won't work out well, but hopefully they're even in it at that point.
Yeah, well, we shall see. I mean, look, Astro fans, you could pile it on now because, look, we know our team is definitely not in the same stratosphere as yours right now. Yeah. Congrats on this series victory.
You can pile it on us, but I'm sure you won't be graceful about it because, we've been nothing but respectful, but the Yankees suck. We know, guys, we know.
Yeah, no.
We know the Yankees are a problem. problem.
We
but,
know.
You know, they'll probably just look at, you know, they'll probably just, you know, still shit on us.
Yeah,
but
probably.
whatever.
But just like, yeah, we could take it. We'll be all right. We got thick skin. But
yeah,
man. Well, it's great to be on, Derek. I know. I wish it was, you know, happier times. But yeah, I'm still gonna believe in this team. I mean, you know, I am a true Yankee fan at heart, and you know, just it's easy for me to get discouraged with situations like this. But just like you, I'm going to just take it series by series, hoping for the best here. You know, luckily baseball is a long ass season, and things can happen, and we're still very much alive. So
there's going to be
positivity here going into the White Sox, and you know, maybe something positive can kind of, you know, snowball into something good here.
Yep. As I sign off here, yeah, like it's a long. Maybe I'm being optimistic in saying this, but like it's just, and thinking back even to the years where the Yankees missed the playoffs, there's just so many ebbs and flows, and like it feels good when your team win. It feels good, and
yeah,
you know, like I do think that there's going to be another stretch here where it's like, okay, like we're kind of, you know, we're in a spot where maybe we can do something, but ultimately I don't think we will. But like you said, a lot of time left here, and hopefully the Yankees can turn things around. Please like and subscribe. It would be greatly appreciated. We will continue to discuss Yankee baseball. Giant season's around the corner, and you know, definitely, I'm probably more optimistic about this Giant team than I've been in a long time.
Yeah.
And before you know it, Ranger season is here too. So even though the Yankees is kind of teetering on the edge here,
some stuff to look forward to.
Some other things to look forward to as well.
Yeah.
So you know, we'll see what happens. But again, the Yankees they split the 4-game set versus the Houston Astros. They will now head for a long road trip. It'll be a 9-game road trip.
Yep.
And it'll start out in Chicago versus the White Sox.
Peace.